Since the dawn of time, man has been curious. And for almost as long, the Vibes Broadcast Network has sought the truth. Investigate, discuss, explore. Okay, maybe in other episodes, but this one is just listen to the vibes.
The views and opinions of our guests may not necessarily reflect those of the host or the Vibes Broadcast Network. Listener discretion is advised.
Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Listen to the Vibes. And I have here Mr. Mike Montague. And we've started out having a good conversation, and we're going to get to know him. And we're just going to talk about everything. You DJ, you MC karaoke, you're a writer, podcaster. What are you, astronaut and president and all that other stuff?
I haven't done the astronaut yet, but when I take over the world and get my billion, I'll build my spaceship and stuff too. Yeah, why not? Hey,
maybe you'll get to ride with William Shatner.
I think that's so awesome that he gets to go.
I love that. Especially, when I was a little kid, Star Trek was like still on TV. I don't know if it still is or not, but the Shatner, Captain Kirk, it's perfect.
It was so good. I feel like a lot of the first captains in Star Trek were awesome. Captain Kirk, Picard, those really like early ones were, for me, just amazing characters. I saw through The Matrix on The Next Generation too. The one time I had a roommate that had it really funny. We were kind of addicted to it. It was on in reruns like right after school in college, and so we just sit there and watch it until we had something to do. And we were supposed to, I think he was going on a date, or we are supposed to be somewhere to meet somebody, and we'd been watching like 45 minutes The Next Generation, and he's like, come on, let's go. And I was like, dude, it's like we're at the climax here. It's almost over. And he's like, the Enterprise almost gets destroyed and then it doesn't. Let's go.
That's the plot of every show, right?
That's every Next Generation for sure.
Well, and I know this is along that subject and not what we're supposed to be talking about, but I was talking to a gentleman yesterday at the store, and he was telling me that Gene Roddenberry actually wanted a android in the original series, but for whatever reason, it didn't work out. So they were trying to figure out the closest thing they could get to an android, which was Spock.
Ah, there you go. That's interesting.
That's why he has no feelings and all that other kind of stuff. And he uses logic and reason. And I don't know if that's 100% true, but it makes sense.
Yeah, it makes sense. I always kind of saw it the other way around. It was like the Data character in Next Generation was the Spock of the group for sure, right? You had to have somebody that's calling the humans out on their emotional needs, which I feel like is what we're going to talk about today, right? Is that I think it's interesting to me that we sometimes pretend that we're logical creatures. We pretend that we're computers and we can optimize our time, or we can be fair or equal, or manage our time and like productivity, and we can work like robots and analyze like computers, but it's not. We're the exact opposite of that. It's always a bias. There's always an emotion involved. We're always craving or looking at multiple facets of things. Like, it's not a digital world that's a yes or no. It's a very vibey world that has waves and functions and different forms and influences on all kinds of things. That's why I'm so excited to be here today.
Well, and I appreciate that. We both are on this website called matchmaker.fm, and no, it's not a dating site.
My wife thought it was one time, by the way. She saw an email from Matchmaker in my inbox and was not very happy about it.
Well, I explained that to my wife before I even signed up, but
oh, good. I didn't think about that, but I should have.
Well, I let her. She wants to look at my emails. I don't care. I ain't got nothing to hide. But I'm like,
right, me either.
If you happen to see Matchmaker on there, it's to get guests and podcasts together. But I love that because there's so many people that you can talk to, And then when you find somebody that, you know, kind of clicks with what you're doing, and what we do is try to bring positivity out there in the world, hopefully inspire people and motivate them to pursue their dreams, and you know, make people want to think, you know, instead of just that, you know, one, like when they got the horse with the blinders on and they just go in one direction. Open up your mind a little bit. There's all kinds of possibilities out there. I love the fact that you have done so many incredible things. And I think my response to you when we agreed to do this was you had me at Billy Idol. So you got to tell me the Billy Idol thing.
Well, the Billy Idol story is a funny one. I won't give away the ending right away. How about that?
Oh, that's fine.
So Billy Idol's manager called the radio station. I was on a retro radio station. It was E105, playing music from retro to right now. Mm-hmm. And we played a lot of Billy Idol songs, and we were sponsoring a concert that he had in town. His opening act got sick and couldn't do the show. So they had about an hour to fill. And they asked if anybody at the radio station could play music. And I was the only one that was an actual on-air DJ and a club DJ at that time. So they, my on-air name was Romeo. So they said, Romeo, do you want to do this? I'm like, hell yeah, I'm in. A chance to open for Billy Idol.
Heck yeah.
No worries. Yeah. And they were like, it doesn't pay very much. They got like $500, but he'll sign an autographed picture for you and stuff to thank you for it. And you'll get to meet Billy Idol backstage. I was like, yeah. I'm in, you know, same thing you said. You had me at Billy Idol. I'm in. So I show up to the venue, get my equipment set up and plugged into the sound system. And then I go back to meet the manager. And when Billy Idol walked around the corner, it was one of those moments in my life that I'll never forget, because some people I had met a lot of celebrities, interviewed a lot of people, and they were all normal humans. You kind of learn in radio and stuff after a while, even in podcasting, that everybody's just a human. They might have done some cool things, but they're still have the emotional needs everybody else does, right? But when Billy Idol turned the corner and you see that bright white spiky hair, the black leather jacket and the black jeans, and he's got that accent, you know, he's like, hey mate, you're like, whoa, that's Billy Idol. It was like one of those, like, takes your breath away. Yeah, you tighten up a little bit and you're like, holy crap, like, that's a rock star. That's what they're supposed to look like. That's what they're supposed to sound like and act like. That is the man. So I talked with them and they gave me basically 3 instructions. They said, don't play any Billy Idol songs because we're going to play those later in the night, right? That makes sense. I said, it's a rock show, so play mostly rock music. Mm-hmm. And then number 3 was, you know, whatever you play on the retro radio station is fine. They weren't that picky about it. I said, deal, I can do that. And I had been entertaining for a long time, so I knew I could entertain a crowd. Plus, this is like the soccer mom crowd. It's Billy Idol in the 2000s. So they're all like, you know, 20 to 40-year-old women. That is like that's my demo. I was like, I can nail this. I got this. I go out on stage, and I mentioned it's early 2000s because there's no internet or Wi-Fi or anything. So I brought CDs with me of all the music that I had. So I'm doing my thing. I play a couple of songs, and I'm thinking Billy Idol. It's I played like Jesse's Girl, you know, Jenny, 867-5309, like an Aerosmith song. And the manager comes out and he says, I thought we told you to play rock music, like the Rolling Stones. And I go, oh, okay. Yeah, sure. I'll mix, you know, some more of that in. And immediately in my head, I just panic because I'm a club DJ. There's not that many rock songs that you dance to. It's like You Shook Me All Night Long and Pour Some Sugar on Me are the 2 songs that you play.
And that's if you're going to strip.
Yeah, right. Yeah, the stripper songs. So I immediately go, I have 45 minutes left, and I do not have with me 45 minutes of classic rock music. So I know I'm in trouble, and like panic sets in, and I start flipping through everything, seeing if on like a greatest hits CD there's something that I can work in here or something. And I found like a Rolling Stone song, or like the dance song, like what is it, Emotion or something? I can't think of it.
Like Emotional Rescue or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm like, all right, that'll buy me 5 minutes to keep looking. And I keep flipping through, and I find maybe a couple of others. Like, I think like, Sweet Home Alabama or something that like kind of not really for the audience, but I'm like, maybe it'll buy me 4 more minutes. And then I'm like, okay, I played a couple of songs. I can probably flip back into a retro song now and buy me some more time to keep looking. And I have this funny joke about Casey and the Sunshine Band, do a little dance, make a little love, and get down tonight. So I was like, maybe not in that order though. You can get down and you can dance, but save the making love till the end of the night. And I play the song, and just the lights come down, the music's off, none of my controls work. I'm standing on stage in front of 5,000 people without able to do anything. I look over and the manager's like, "You're done." Gives me the cutthroat sign, and I grab my equipment and I slink off and pack up. I do not pass go. I do not collect $500. I do not get a picture of Billy Idol. I just walk outside to the front and talk to the other radio people who are broadcasting out front, and they're like, "What happened? How come you're done so soon?" And I was like, apparently they don't like Casey and the Sunshine Band. But I tell that story, and I love telling it on every podcast I go, because since I didn't get paid for it, I get paid in my ability to tell the story about it for the rest of my life. But two, that's the moment I became bulletproof as a performer. After that, I was like, oh, well, I can do anything now, right? Nothing is going to happen on this podcast that's going to be worse than that. So I've already made it through. I survived it. My career's fine. Like, everything is fine. And on other shows, I love to tell people I've been maced by police because a fight broke out and they shot the mace over the people fighting into my face on stage.
Oh no.
I did shows on the night of 9/11. I've been sexually harassed. I've been assaulted. I've, had shows go bad or just be completely drunk and out of control on St. Patrick's Day or something. And all of those things just made me a better performer. But sometimes we try to flatten things out. We try to play it safe and stay in a comfort zone. And if you don't try to open for Billy Idol, you don't fail, but you don't get a story, or you don't succeed either. And if you are trying to have amazing positive experiences, you're going to end up with some that are negative. So I always try to think of it like a sine wave, right? If I try to mellow it out and I take drugs and other things to like dull my senses and my emotions, I'll stay pretty steady. I'll stay pretty close. My highs won't be high and my lows won't be low. But if I'm trying to live a life that's interesting and I'm trying to have really high highs, it's got to come with really low lows. There's no way to kind of only have the upside and the positive vibes, right?
Well, like I try to explain to folks, when you say, like, you break your arm, when your arm grows back, or the bone grows back, then it's stronger than what it was before. And you get comfortable with being uncomfortable. And because when you look like at a piece of a coal, enough pressure on it long enough, it becomes a diamond. So anytime that you go through these things, it's like I said, it made you tougher, and you learn all these experiences, and you learn from your mistakes, so you do better the next time. I mean, I guarantee you there's people out there that are real famous right now that have very embarrassing stories to tell, but it made them who they are. I mean, Sting, he's called Sting because he wore an outfit that was black and yellow striped, and everybody said he looked like a bee. So he's like, oh, well, I'm Sting now. Or Pete Townsend, how he started smashing guitars. He was on stage, and the stage had a very low ceiling, and he was jumping around, and he got his guitar neck stuck in the ceiling. And when he pulled it out, he broke it. So then he decided he was going to smash it. Then it got to be, so he wouldn't be embarrassed, he did it every show.
So it wasn't a one time. Yeah.
Let's kind of talk a little bit more about how that experience, I guess, it motivated you to try a little harder, and how you got to do all these incredible things.
Well, that's what I think we're right in it, is that I have this kind of philosophy that I'm going to be mostly positive. I'm going to be mostly trying to go for good things. And I've just decided in my life that I'm not going to let fear or other things get in the way of me trying to go for it. Because trying to go for it and fail is really not that bad. I think about auditions that I've been on. I auditioned for 2 game shows and got them both, luckily. But I've gone on other auditions where I didn't get the job.
Mm-hmm.
And so what's the worst thing that happens out of that?
They
You
tell
don't
you no.
have the job now, right? So you can't get any more not in the job than you already are before the audition, right? So I love that as a perfect example of one of the things that you can swing for the fences, and you don't strike out because there's no out. The game keeps going. You get to try again next time. So when I've auditioned for other things and you get it, you go, okay, I learned, or they were looking for something that wasn't me. That's okay. Right. And I try not to worry about people that don't get the joke. So the feedback that I pay attention to are the ones that are people like you, that you get it. You're with me. And so if you say something to me that like, hey, you weren't positive about this, or you still have some head trash around this area where you're not living up to what you said you wanted to, or what you're talking about, then I'll listen to that and I'll go, oh, what, you know what, you're right. But somebody who doesn't get it, somebody goes, well, it's a crazy world out there and it's negative and there's nothing good about it. And so I'm not listening to them. They don't get the joke. They don't know where I'm trying to go. Right. And I think that's where all of these lessons and things came into play for me. And I'll do anything for a cool story or to get behind a microphone. And so I think of two stories that come to mind. Number one is first thing in radio. I'm in Kansas City, and I went to the University of Missouri, and there's a big MU-KU rivalry. So Kansas University and Missouri, it's like the border war. It goes back to the Civil War. They hate each other. They make fun of each other. Everybody around town wears their jerseys, and you're on one side of the fence or the other. There's very few people that don't care around Kansas City. But I went to Missouri, and then my first voiceover for a television commercial was for the KU bookstore. And they had the theme song from Kansas playing behind me. And it's like, go fighting Jayhawks. We got the cure for what's ailing you. Jayhawk fever. Come on down to the KU bookstore. And like, I was selling Kansas in my first one, but it was $100 for 5 minutes worth of work. And as a 22-year-old kid, that's a lot of beer money. That was a quarter of my rent for doing that for 5 minutes. Hell yes, that's a good deal. And to me, that's not selling out. That's a funny story. They need somebody with a young voice that was close to college age to talk about the college. Cool. The other one that comes to mind for me is the Powerball. So I got this awesome voiceover acting gig one time to just read the Powerball, the new Powerball numbers twice a week. So you don't think about it because you hear at the end of every commercial on the radio, it's like the current Missouri Powerball jackpot is $37 million. Well, somebody has to go and update that every time the drawing happens, right? So twice a week, I got $100 to just go in and go, the current Missouri Powerball jackpot is $137 million.
Hey, that's actually cool.
Yeah. But I was like, so for a year, I was the Powerball guy on the radio. And I thought, like, that's so fun. Now, when you're 6 and you're dreaming about what you want to do with your life, you don't think like, oh, I'd really love to read bland, technical announcements at the end of a commercial. But it beats a lot of other things like physical labor and other things I'm not very good at, or sweating outside on a hot roof or something. If you do that work, God bless you. I'm glad that I don't have to, but like, that's not for me. My thing is having fun and trying to create cool experiences for other people.
That's the thing, is to have fun, and play to your strengths, but also, you could use some of your weaknesses to your advantage as well. For myself, and I don't like to, just get into talking about myself, but, I have a spinal problem. And so I had to retire early, and I'm not able to work, but I'm not one of these guys that just likes to sit around the house. So, got into podcasting, that kind of thing. And the people that know me, they're like, why would you get into podcasting? Because I don't know if you notice, I stutter sometimes, but I've tried very hard to, to fight that. But I think it kind of adds a little character to it myself. I mean, if you do whatever you can, And especially like you have a great voice. And so that you can use that to your advantage. And I'm sure you probably have a pretty good knowledge of music by now. So
Yeah, I do for sure from all those DJing years, but I was a fan of music even before I got into it. So I'd love to talk about that. But I love what you just said, because I didn't, notice the stutter or anything. I think so much of what we see in ourselves. My wife was doing that. She's getting her teeth fixed because she had a chip in a tooth or something. I was like, nobody can even see it where it is. She's like, I can see it in pictures. I was like, yeah, if you zoom in 8 times on your phone, you can tell that there is one there if you're looking for it. But nobody else in the world, I promise you, is noticing that, right? The other side of that, though, is what you highlighted, which I think is also brilliant, is that that's what makes you unique and special. And so if you lean into those things, that's what separates you from everybody else. We don't need a whole bunch of other people to read a perfectly clean, statement. We got people that can do that. We need somebody with something interesting. And when you think about singers and their voices, right? It's not the most technical singers that become famous. It's the ones that are the most interesting and the most unique that become famous, because they stand out from those other people are background singers. They're studio musicians. The ones that are frontmans and women and are famous are because they're unique. They have a story. There's something unusual about them. I think of like David Bowie or, just any, what's the guy from Queen? I'm blanking.
Freddie Mercury.
Freddie Mercury, right? Like, wow, what an amazing, unique person. It would have never been the Freddie Mercury if he sang and looked and sounded like everybody else. Right?
Exactly. Well, and you know who Mel Tillis is, right? Country singer. That? He's a country singer.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Well, anyway, he stuttered. But the unique thing about it is that he actually overcame stuttering before he became a performer. But he would use that as a shtick and would pretend like he was still stuttering. It's just that, I guess, made him unique. So, you never know. I mean, what I guess the story is that Freddie Mercury, he had that bad overbite, and people were like, are you going to get your teeth fixed? It's like, no, it's part of my singing. So why would I?
Yeah, I don't want to mess up the voice or things that are working, for sure.
Right. I can't remember the actor's name, but he's in just about all the Adam Sandler movies. And I think he was in, was it Reservoir Dog? No, not Reservoir Dog. I think it might have been the guy with the funky eyes.
Yeah. I know who you're talking about now too. Yeah.
But he could have had surgery to have that corrected. And he's like, no, that got me here. Why would I change that?
Yeah, I love that. It's such a beautiful lesson, because I think the same thing goes for behavior that if people don't like. We've kind of been talking about, physical things that you could recognize, but the same thing goes true at work. Like, if there's 100 people that are yes men and women just saying the same thing as everybody else, then there's 99 of them we don't need. Right? If there's somebody that has a unique perspective and somebody that challenges thought or makes you think creatively, or for me, what I love in my day job as a sales trainer and motivational speaker is I need to have a unique voice. I need to be the one that has the guts to go up there on stage and say it in front of 1,000 people, to take a chance, to do something that matters or is interesting. I actually get paid for the interesting part. So in my life, I've kind of created these traps for myself. So this is going to be kind of a weird sidebar, but I think it makes sense. When I was single in my 20s, I thought like, hey, look, I'm not that good looking. I'm not that cool. I don't know how to talk to girls. If I can be the DJ on the stage, I can get 1,000 girls a week to at least notice me. And then I got a better shot, right? And while other guys are paying $200 for drinks to go out, I make a couple $100 DJing. So I'm up like a net $400 plus. At least every girl in the bar saw me, and if they like my personality or something, maybe I have a better shot at it, right? So I kind of trap myself into these things like, oh, if that's my job, I have to do it. That's one of the reasons I do game shows now. It's like, well, I have to get out of the house during COVID, go somewhere and have some fun every single week. I've committed to it. Plus I get paid to do it. That's amazing for me. And I think of the same thing for other people at work. Like, how can you trap yourself into getting out of your comfort zone or commit to something to other people that helps you kind of live your fullest life? Because otherwise it's easy just to chill and watch Netflix and do other things, right?
Vegetate. So, like everybody else, we try to stay positive, but we have our down days. And when you are in those really down moods, how do you keep yourself like in a positive way of thinking?
It's a great question. I will just say straight up, the last 18 months has been really hard for me. You can tell I'm somebody that's outgoing. I get energy from being around people and being on stages, and we all had that sucked out. I have a high need for approval, and in psychology, we call them strokes. Like, you get a certain amount of strokes of somebody saying nice things or smiling at you or giving you attention. And we're all attention deprived children inside, right? And all of that got sucked out of our community over the last 2 years. And you're just not even seeing people's smiles underneath their masks, or, having a beer with a friend or something that you were doing that allows you to lower those stress and energy levels and get the positive affirmations that you need. So it's been really tough. There have been kind of waves for me during the pandemic where I just, quite honestly, run out of shits to give and the stress gets too high and I'm out, and it's like, I need to do something. So for me, I think I would say a few things. Changing your energy will change your body and your mind as well. So whether it's taking a vacation and just relaxing and going to a beach, or going to a concert, or I'm a fan of meditation and mindfulness, but that kind of gets me back to zero. So that'll get me from freaking out to zero, or say like -10 to 0, which is still a great movement. But to get back into the positive, I found that takes action. That takes me, and like I said, trapping myself into something. So how can I schedule something that I have to do that I won't turn down? Or can I go move my body and exercise, or listen to music, or find something that will be an active trigger for me to change it? Because what I found that doesn't work is like smoking weed and watching Netflix and zoning out and trying to ignore it and hope that it goes away. That doesn't work.
No.
What does work is eating something healthy, moving my body, changing my environment, my scenery, getting rid of whatever's stressing me. Like, taking action on stuff allows you to move through the negative emotions rather than getting stuck in them. So I love the Winston Churchill quote: if you're going through hell, keep going. Like, that's a dumb place to stop, right?
Exactly. Well, I will say that, we've got podcasting, and I get to interview all these wonderful people, and that has been a blessing. Other than having my grandson here and the enjoyment that we get playing with him, I would probably go nuts, because I'm like you. I'm a social animal. I have to interact with people, or I would just wilt away. I'm the guy that when you go to the store, I don't like going through the self-checkout. I want to go up and talk to the cashier.
Me too. Yeah.
So, you go out and you want to interact with people, but everybody's behind their masks and they want a social distance and all that. And that's just not who I am. This is about as close as I get to continuously interacting with people, and it keeps me in a good mood.
Yeah, I love that. And sounds like both of us use it for those same traps. That I know if I have a weekly show at least once a week, I have to put myself together, get my energy up, connect with another human being, pay attention to them, listen, and like, frankly, there's not a better word, turn myself on, right? Be present in the moment and make sure that I'm actively engaged in my life at least once a week for a half an hour or an hour, which I think is amazing. I will say there is something different about it virtually. And I noticed that when I was in radio, that when I'm on radio, even if I'm broadcasting to 100,000 people during drive time and I tell a really funny joke, I don't get to hear anybody laugh, right? or I don't necessarily have to get up and shower to record a podcast and put pants on and do other things. So like getting out of the house sometimes creates a little extra momentum of like, oh, I have to shower and shave and smell good and put pants on and like be ready to go do something. That's a different level of energy that it changes inside of you when you do that. But anything helps. If that's all we have, right now is virtual, great, lean on that. But don't forget to go out there and do other things. Another one I'll add on to that real quick, Kyle.
Sure.
I noticed last year during the pandemic that there's some, I don't know how often we curse on this show?
You can. I usually refrain from it myself, but
I don't either in my time in radio, but I'll just say like, there's some stuff out there that is just complete BS. That like social media is not social.
No.
And reality television is not reality. So if you're getting your version of reality from reality television, you're going to be delusional. If you're getting your news from a program that's designed to, entertain, that's not news. That's not unbiased facts. And same thing with social. So the big one I wanted to highlight for people is, liking your mom's picture on Facebook is not the same as calling your mom. Yeah. So I really tried to like deactivate my accounts and make myself pick up the phone. If I wanted to know what's going on with my brother, I need to call my brother and ask him, not research him online, because that's not the same connection with another human being. It's a different energy level.
Yeah, there's not a real correlation with that. I know some people, they feel, I don't know, justified when somebody likes their photo or whatever, but yeah. And another thing, and I know that there's positives and there's negatives when it comes to texting and all that kind of stuff, but that's all kids want to do nowadays. Is they're just like this message or, text, what have you. They don't know how to really interact with people anymore. That's the sad thing. That's why I enjoy the one-on-one. I want to go up and I want to, tell my corny dad jokes to the cashier, My favorite is when they say, do you want your milk in a bag? And I'm like, no, keep it in the jug. It's less messy that way.
I got a couple of good ones for you, Kyle. Here you go. Number one, if you're ever at a restaurant and they want to ask you if you want a box for your leftovers, say, no, but I'll wrestle you for them. I always say when they say paper or plastic, I always say plastic and pull out my debit card. You're talking about the other thing. I have cash and I have plastic too.
Well, when they ask me, are you ready for your check? And I say, I might be ready next week. I'm not sure yet. Can I get back with you? But they don't like that one.
No, that was funny.
I love embarrassing my kids too.
That's the best. I had a dad with no shame for sure, who was really good at that. So I try to get in it with kids. That's another big thing that changes my energy and I think helps other people is that through all my research with Playful Humans, I've interviewed 75 people. I've read over 25 books on play and happiness and positivity and culture and just, successful, happy people, whatever that means to you, happy or successful. One thing that I've really learned is that we were all born with this ability. We are born to play, to be creative, to be funny. If you look at psychological research, children in the 3rd grade, 90% of them have like genius levels of creativity if you compare them to adults. But by the time we get to adults, only 10% of us still have that ability left, that it's been trained out of us, that we've forgotten, we've muted ourselves because we want to be liked by the opposite sex, or we wanted an A on a paper, or somebody told us we weren't good at whatever it is. But all of that is BS. It's still inside you. If you go and you play a game with kids, or you play outside, or you just, start a game of tag with nieces and nephews, you will have fun. You know how to do this.
Right.
It's just that you've forgotten that you've chosen other things as more important than your happiness or your playfulness.
Well, I'm glad that you brought that up, because I did go to your website, and I want you to kind of talk about that and about, the adults actually playing like children again.
Yeah. So there's a shameless plug. There's a quiz on the website at playfulhumans.com/quiz. there's 10 different ways that you can really play and just be fully present in life. So when we talk about play, there are some scientific definitions of it. You can't force somebody to do it. So it's a voluntary challenge that you're opting into that creates a positive emotion. And I think you lose yourself in it. So one of the key aspects of play is that your inhibitions drop away and you're fully present in the moment. That's one of the reasons I love podcasting and public speaking is I can't be thinking about the weather or the alerts on my phone or other things. Like I need to be focused here and fully present in the conversation that we're having. So whatever that means to you, a great way to start is by thinking back to your childhood or by taking the quiz, but that could be doing a puzzle. It could be painting or drawing. It could be playing a sport. It could be exploring and hiking. It could be writing. It could be hosting a party. It could be, anything.
Me playing with my $6 million man.
Music. Yeah. Music, toys, board games, all of that stuff is designed to be a frivolous activity that is not frivolous. It's very important to our mental, emotional, and physical health that we just forget to do. We forget to make time for. And it's, to me, it's as important as sleep and food and oxygen, is that we need to play and we need to create a positive emotion in ourselves. Otherwise we burn out. We know the path is stress, burnout, fatigue, then your body breaks down and other things happen because we as human beings were not designed to be machines, to be optimized workers that work for, 8 hours a day and take certain, breaks. And I've read all the research and I've even tried it for myself, like the Pomodoro techniques and the, any type of optimization or minimalization or essentialism and stuff. There are certain things that we need. We need to play every day. We need to pause every day and just take a freaking break and just rest. We need to perform. We need to take some sort of serious action. If we don't get out of bed and do something, we're not going to be living our best life.
True.
And the other thing is practice. And that can come in a lot of different ways. But if you don't ever leave yourself room for failure or to practice or to learn how to do something, you won't be living your best life. You'll be living the same skills and emotions and events over and over again, and you're not progressing. So I know you and I were talking football. Think about the athletes and how much they practice to perform for 3 hours on Sunday, right? We know that if you're going to be the best player in the NFL, you have to play the game. You have to do it because you love it. You have to pause and rest. You can't play football 24/7. You're going to burn down and break out, and you have to practice. So, perform, play, practice, and pause are all critical things for them to perform at the highest level. But sometimes when we're selling insurance or whatever it is as an accountant, we forget a lot of those things, right?
Yes. Well, I always tell people that my favorite part about having a grandson here is it gives me an excuse to play with Hot Wheels and, little superhero figures and all that kind of stuff. And
I got my Legos over here. Yeah.
It keeps you young. It really does, I mean, can you believe I'm in my 50s,
I think it's always hard to believe. Isn't it? When you get older, you start thinking, you're like, wait a second, I'm the adult now, or I'm the grandparent now. And it's so crazy because you still see yourself as that like inner child, that you're still the same entity inside, even though that your body's different. And I think there's some weird things that happen in aging to us just as humans that sometimes we lose it. Sometimes we feel like, okay, well, now as a grandparent, I have to be serious. Or sometimes we rediscover it and we go, oh, well, I'm not the parent. They can worry about whether he runs with scissors and stuff. I'm going to go play. I don't have to be the disciplinarian here. And so it's funny how like things cycle out to me and how we forget what was so great about being a kid, or if you had a tough childhood, that doesn't have to be forever. You can be a playful adult too. And we get a choice every day, whether we want to be positive and fun and playful, or whether we want to be a negative person and worry and stress and make our lives miserable.
I look back at when I was a kid and how much fun that I had back then. But then as I got up into like junior high and high school, I couldn't wait to grow up. Boy, was that a stupid thing to want.
Yeah.
Because then you have to get out there and in the real world, you got a job, you got a family, you take care of kids, make sure the bills are paid, there's food on the table, the whole 9 yards, and you lose something. And
For me, it was amazing how fast that switch was. That when I was, younger and even in my 20s and 30s, I was like, I can't wait to be the boss. I can't wait for people to see me as an adult and as credible and as the expert. And then I hit 40 and it was like almost immediate. It was like, oh shit, I want to be young again. I want to be fun. Like, I don't want the responsibility. Being the boss sucks. Being an adult is getting old sucks. Like, I want to go back. And there was like very little time in my life where I was just happy with who I was in the stage of life that I was at. And that's really sad.
Yeah, you need to be happy with yourself. I mean, always strive to do better, but
yeah,
you need to be thankful, content, and be in the present. That's another problem. You either live in the past or you live in the future, and you're not living in the present, and you miss out on so much.
I think that's so huge. You hit two things there. The first one was that you're enough. There is enough out there for everybody, and you're enough just exactly as you are. You really don't need to try that hard or worry that hard about the future. And I think people also, like you said, worry about the past a lot, and they hang on to baggage and stuff. And so again, I never want to minimize it. I know that everybody has their own experiences, but I've been assaulted. I've had really shitty days. Some of the worst stuff for me was actually a kidney stone. I have a genetic kidney disease, and there was a day that I was like, could not stop throwing up for 24 hours. And I thought I was going to die. And I had to take a plane flight back from LA. They almost grounded the plane because they were like, good Lord, this person is miserable. Like, they asked me, should we land the plane? And I was like, no, because I'm still going to be throwing up and sick when we land the plane. So let's just get me home,
or toss me out.
Yeah. And those days suck. Right. But that happens. I think you can't then let that stop you from doing the next day. The beauty part about life is that you get another shot to do it again. So when you live in the moment, that's the only moment you have control over. That's you can really have a lot more fun. And I think you can choose a healthier response.
Well, I mean, you can't go back and change what's already happened, and you can have plans on what you're going to do tomorrow, but that doesn't mean that's going to happen. You live right now. And I mean, just like I was talking about my grandson being here, seeing him step those first steps and then actually walking, those first words, all those things. If you are so involved with other stuff and not being in the moment, you miss that.
It's so crazy. But it's so much fun at the same time, right? That you're already enough. I heard an Oprah quote one time that I thought was so great. She was on a podcast and she said, kids don't care about how much money you make or what your role is or what your status is. They care whether your eyes light up when you see them or not. And I thought, damn, that's really freaking good, Oprah. It even gets me emotional now thinking about it, because I want to be that person for other people.
Yes.
I don't need to be serious. I don't need to be important. I want to be somebody that's in their life that their eyes light up when they meet me, and that my eyes light up when I see them, so that they know that they're enough.
I mean, you help people in sales and marketing. Tell me a little bit about that.
Sure. I have a couple of things that I do. The websites are really easy. So you want to find me or learn more about it, just go to mikemontague.com or playfulhumans.com. My day job is with a company called Sandler Training, and we do sales and management and leadership training for companies all around the world, like Uber and Thermo Fisher Scientific. And I host a podcast for them. So since you're listening to a podcast, check out the How to Succeed podcast. There's over 500 episodes. It's got over 2 million downloads, and I've interviewed cool authors and thought leaders there. But I also have the Playful Humans podcast, and I do team building workshops and game shows and any type of corporate event for holidays or team buildings or quarterly kickoffs and sales kickoffs. All of that. I love being on stage and being in front of people and helping other people have a good time and learn something along the way. Sure, I do keynote speeches and other things that are serious, and we can dive into social media or marketing or sales pretty deep, and I can get in the weeds. But I really love it when we can play, we can have a game show, and then we work in a little bit of the vegetables. I'm more of an ice cream guy than a vegetable guy, so I'd rather have you learn through having fun and play than from being really serious and saying, what sticks in the all vegetable diet.
Well, I think that's why, like, shows when we were growing up, like Sesame Street and whatnot, it was play, but you were learning, and you retain more when you're having fun, instead of how they used to make us sit there and read all this boring stuff in school. And
yeah, I mean, a textbook, like, nobody wants to hear somebody else. Does somebody want to read this page out of the textbook for the class? Like, that does not helping anybody, right? But you're 100% correct. The way all mammals on the planet learn is through play. Cats learn how to catch their prey by wrestling with their siblings and pouncing on things and playing, and they learn those skills. It's the same way human beings learn. We just forget that because we can also force feed it and we can make it really boring, but it doesn't get faster results. In fact, studies show it's about 40 times faster. That if you play a game, you can learn as much as you can in 40 reps, as if you like study and read a textbook and force things. It takes up to 400 reps.
Wow.
And memorizations to catch the same amount of information. So it's crazy. It's nuts that it scientifically works and we're still doing it wrong because it's more fun too.
Well, the world's mad. What can I say? Because madness is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different outcome. Yeah. Maybe that's what's wrong with us all. Hey.
It is. I mean, I think we've chosen different priorities.
Yes,
we haven't put
true.
Success and health and happiness as our top priority. And it made sense. Human beings for a long time did have to struggle just to survive for hundreds of thousands of years. And now that we've figured out that we don't have to, it's a tough adjustment. Mm-hmm. Some people still live in that kill or be killed world. Right?
True. Well, and a lot of people want to measure success by how much money you have in the bank. I think it's how much joy you have and how much you really want to be here, and the fun that you can have when you have, number one, a relationship with other people, whether it be your family, friends, and you have a great time, and you will be remembered when you're gone. That's success. When
100%.
You can help somebody else out, no matter what that might be. But we're so busy chasing the almighty dollar. That's not success. I'm sorry. I mean, you could be Jeff Bezos if you want, but that what's in here?
You know what I think is so funny about that too is that when I've seen people get more money, or even if I've had more money myself, there's psychological research that your happiness doesn't increase over $75,000 a year at this time. So there is a certain amount of money that will make your life easier when you have a steady, place to live and the food you want and the clothes you want. But after that, what do you need? A bigger house? Do you need more cars? Do you need more clothes? You can only wear and use one of those at a time. So it doesn't increase your happiness, even though we think that it does. And it's marketed to us by people who want to sell us stuff that some of the things do. But people that win the lottery end up, back to where they were, and they're like, no, thanks. It wasn't that great. I got rid of it. It didn't make them any happier. Their happiness levels were higher than before they'd won the lottery and stuff. It's crazy the amount of research we've done into it. And we still let marketers and corporations tell us that we'll be happier if we buy that next thing. Yeah. And it's not true.
To be honest with you, the wife and I have started downsizing, and I've noticed the more that we let go of stuff, the more happy that we are. We're wanting to get to that point where we can just jump in an RV and go wherever we want and not have to worry about
That's
being
awesome.
tied down. If we are going to get property, we want a small house. I mean, what do you need a huge house for? What do you need 12 bedrooms for? Especially when it's going to be me and her, you know?
Yeah.
Do you think the kids are going to stay there forever? They're not. I don't need a big fancy car. Give me a pickup truck. I'm
Yeah.
content with the pickup truck. I want to grow vegetables and have chickens and goats and things like that. That's contentment for me.
I think it's so fun. Yeah, I drive cars until I can't drive them anymore. They're,
Mhm.
they're upside down. It would take more to fix it than it's worth and stuff. Or, yeah, I love what you said. My wife and I kind of argue sometimes because we're looking at like fun, destination homes or things like that. And she's like, well, we need a guest room or something. For what? Like people can stay in a hotel. We don't need an extra room that's not used so that maybe once a year a brother or sister can
Right.
come and use it, right? Like that doesn't make any sense. They can stay somewhere else, or we can make room. It's more fun if we make room in the living room and get a pull-out couch and we all camp in the backyard or something. That sounds more fun to me than wasting money on a room we don't use 99% of the year.
Get a blow-up mattress that you can keep in the closet when they want to come over. Oh, there you go. You can sleep
Yeah,
on
make it
that.
happen.
So you're a writer as well?
Well, yes. So I write a lot of sales blogs and other things. I wrote a book that got picked up by LinkedIn on how to use LinkedIn for salespeople. It's called LinkedIn the Sandler Way. Been downloaded over 80,000 times with Sandler and LinkedIn. So really lucky to have success with that one. And I'm writing a new book on playful humans right now. So I don't know when that's going to come out, but my goal is to get it finished this month. We'll see if it happens or not, but share some of these lessons that we've been talking about today with people.
Well, the whole purpose behind social media was supposed to be social, and how we've already talked, it's really not that social anymore. But I still have my Facebook and Instagram and whatnot. I did get rid of Twitter because they were just getting so ugly on there. I was like, that don't need it. But my favorite go-to is LinkedIn. I have met so many wonderful people on there because you have people that are goal oriented that are on LinkedIn, and I think that's if you really want to be social, that's the one to go to.
I agree, and it's really just because it's business related. You don't get a lot of politics or even personal stuff on there. It's really mostly what people are doing, what they're up to, like you said, what their goals are, and cool things that they're doing or sharing. And I love thought leadership. I love learning and reading and stuff too. So I can follow interesting speakers or writers and other thought leaders, videographers that are doing cool things on there without the noise and agenda as much. It still creeps in there every once in a while, but very rare. Yeah. So that's good.
Well, for the most part, I don't have a problem. I can get on there and, I post mostly my videos and things like that, but the connections that I've made on there, I should get paid for this, but there's another one called Alignable. I don't know if you've heard of it.
Oh yeah.
I've really made some great connections on there and got some great guests on my show as well. But I think that's what we should probably go for, because to be honest with you, the studies that I've heard, you've got, I think 1% of the population that's on social media that kind of controls it and has all this craziness going on. I don't see what they're talking about when I go out to Walmart or to the grocery store. I see people that just want to get along, and I can have a conversation with anyone. And there's no animosity there whatsoever. My grandson, say he's not even 2 yet, but his favorite word when we go out is hi. That starts up a conversation with people. And I think that's the way most people really are. But because you have this 1% that's so loud on social media, people are afraid. Is that one of those people that, is talking smack on Facebook or Instagram or Twitter?
Yeah. I love it all. Two things came to mind for me. One is 100% true. When you get yourself out of the matrix and you go into real life, you're like, oh, everybody's just trying to figure things out the way they are too. And even the people that are talking about those issues are only talking about it because they heard about it on social media, not because they actually care it's affected their life or not in any other way, for the most part. The second thing is it amazes to me how behavior changes. So coming out of the pandemic, where they had a baseball, I don't know if you saw this or not, there was a fight at a San Diego Padres game where two guys were yelling at each other. And of course it made it on video on all the social media channels because people pulled out their phones. But guy said something and this other guy just walked up to him and just punched him right in the face and just knocked him out. One swing, he falls over. And I thought the announcer was sort of a comedian guy, but I thought he would say something like, violence isn't right. We don't want to condone this or anything. And that's true. But he said, people, this is not Twitter. If you say something dumb in the real world, you may get punched in the face. And I thought,
good point.
Like, it's such a great illustration of what happens. Yeah, in the real world, we wouldn't say the things that we say on social media, or we wouldn't just share a random political thought with a stranger. That's not what we do. But sometimes coming out of this pandemic, we need to relearn what we do in the real world, and we got to get back to it because we've forgotten that it's still out there and it's full of good people and great people just trying to connect and make their way in the world.
Yeah, I feel for a lot of these folks that are on social media that do that. I think a lot of them are they're deprived of attention. They're looking for attention. They want to be validated. They want to belong. And I think they get caught up in stuff just because they think that's what everybody thinks. And if you get out and you actually meet people and find out what they're really like, and you'll find things are a lot different. So another reason why I love doing the podcasting, I get people on here and I get to know who they are and find out there's a lot of people that think the same way I do, and they just want positivity.
Yeah,
they don't want all this junk.
It's a great lesson for to wrap this up and for your podcast, is that I think there is a lesson for life about these algorithms, that if you put negativity and you search for world wars and racism or sexism or scarcity or trouble or climate change or viruses, that's what you're going to see more of.
Yep.
The internet is designed to give you more of what you're looking for.
Yes, it is.
And so is life. So if you search for puppies and comedians and jokes and beautiful scenery and animals and love, it will show you more of that. It is designed to do that as well, but you have to be really careful about what you're putting out there, because that's what you're going to get back. And the real world is the same way. If you're positive and you're putting positive vibes out there, you'll attract other people with positive vibes and you'll find more of it. But if you're putting negative vibes out there, you're only going to get more negative. It's not going to magically show you positive vibes in your life, because that's not what you're going to see anyway. Even if it does, you're not going to recognize it.
I search for more zit popping myself, but
Oh, I can't do those. I can do the ASMR, but I gotta get the pimple popper one.
Yeah. I love Dr. Pimple Popper.
I have not watched one. I can't do it. No way.
Before we go, number one, how can people find you? And do you have any kind of events or anything coming up that people might be able to maybe attend? Or I don't know if you do any virtual stuff.
Yeah, most of them are private at this time. So hopefully we'll get back to some public events that people can attend here shortly. So I'll just say MikeMontague.com for me. Playful Humans is at playfulhumans.com. The two podcasts are Playful Humans and How to Succeed. So since you're listening to a podcast, search those wherever you're listening or watching right now, and you'll find them there. And really what I want to help people do is connect with cool, fun, playful people. So if you have any ideas for guests for Playful Humans, and you think somebody would be a great suggestion of somebody that we should talk to, reach out to Kyle or I, and we'd love to meet more cool, positive people. And the second one is, yes, if you want more fun in your group and you feel like your team or your company or your family has been taking things way too seriously and you want to play a little Family Feud or Price is Right and have some fun, or have me just put together a team building event, we can do, scavenger hunts and other types of games. I can play a game with you right now. I feel like we should do one, Kyle.
Oh, sweet. Let's do it.
All right. I surveyed 100 people during a power failure. Name something you can still turn on.
My wife.
Spouse is on there. Number 4 answer, flashlight. Flashlight is the number 1 answer. All right. Speaking of spouse, name a reason you might make your spouse get out of bed in the middle of the night.
If I farted.
I'll give it to you. It's not on there. Number 1 is check a noise. But snoring is number 2. And then sick is number 3. All right. Last one. Name a good place to eavesdrop on people's conversations.
Ooh, a good place to eavesdrop on people's conversations. Usually at a restaurant, I would think.
Number 1 answer. There you go. Killed it. Number 1 answer. It's that easy. So we can make up questions like this for your team or any subject that you want, or we can just have some fun and mess around with standard questions too, and just play. Get out there and connect with people.
Everyone, you have a great day. God bless and peace.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of Listen to the Vibes. You can catch us on Buzzsprout or wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts, and on YouTube. Follow us on Facebook at The Vibes Broadcast Network